How great would it be to get up close and personal with the beauty industry heroes we love and admire, and to ask them, how did you learn to do what you do? I'm Chris Baran, a hairstylist and educator for 40 plus years, and I'm inviting all our heroes to chat and share the secrets of their success. Well, welcome to Headcases, where interesting conversations happen with the hair industry leaders of today. Now, I'm really excited about today's guest and catching up with an old friend. He has traveled the world as a hairdresser, artistic educator, motivational speaker, and I can say he is a visionary. He has a best-selling book by the name of Beauty Business. It has been on the best-selling list with Amazon and New York Times. He is a NAHA editorial stylist as well as a Lifetime Achievement Award winner. He is the world's top hairstylist and inducted into the London's Hairdressing Hall of Fame. He's received the Intercoiffure honor of the prestigious Knight Award that has been presented from the Council of the Ordre de la Chevalier. His hair care line, Together Beauty, features clean, innovative, toxin-free formulas. He's had multiple location salons and his school empire, which was in his native Louisiana, as well as New York City. He's a legend in our industry. So let's get into this week's head case, Mr. Sam Brocato. Well, Mr. Brocato, am I allowed to call you Mr.?
Yeah. Chris, come on.
Sam, it's always a pleasure. I mean, I think the last time being on the industry together, we always get this time to be, running around. We can be in the same facility, but half of the time we see each other very little on the road. And I think the last time that we were really, and anybody listening, I'm using air quotes. That shows you how old I am. But you were at our apartment in Manhattan, and was it you and was it Coley was son. Coley, because he was looking at getting into the film industry at that time, with camera, etc. What is he there now? Is that what he's going on?
Bought a camera, $130,000 camera 3 days ago. He's doing all of Tito's, everything you see by Tito's. He's done it, shot it, everything. He's doing really well, and he's in a nice space because he's doing a lot of advertising work. And so far, no problems with being replaced by anything or anybody.
Yeah, well, here's crossing our fingers for that so far.
Big time. But yeah.
So listen, bud, it's always a pleasure, and the one thing you can always tell is when you're a friend with somebody. For those of you just listening and watching right now, we were bantering about before and having some shits and giggles. But it's funny, you can not see somebody for a long time and it's either really awkward or it's just like it was the day you met him last. And I have to say, it was just like the day when you were at apartment, that it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
And how funny, Chris, I could literally stand up and it would take, 5 minutes to walk from my apartment to your old apartment?
Yeah.
That's how close we are.
Yeah, exactly. And the funniest thing is because I you're still there, but I escaped. Manhattan. I got a little bit too hard. And one how would you say? I'll put it altercation with a taxi cab driver. Said I just went, I'm getting a little too hard here. Yeah. So that led for me to move. I wanted to go to somewhere it was a little bit more calm and tame, and Fountain Hills, Arizona is certainly that.
Oh, nice.
But listen, this is about you, and I I know that I just want to ask you one question first. And I do want to go into the hair and the why hair, et cetera. But the first thing I want to ask you is, it's tough when, well, I don't know if it's tough. Here's what I want to get. People call you a legend or an icon. And you hear people say that all the time. I'm saying it about you right now because you are.
You said sweet.
How does that sit with you?
I heard the woman that wrote The Handmaid's Tale. I heard her on Tim Ferriss' show about a year and a half ago, and Tim was just gushing about her being a legend and just an amazing woman. And she stopped him and she says, "Tim, I'm old. She said, there's a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me, and I could probably name some people if I could think back that were in their 30s that passed away. They were just amazing people. I mean, and had they still been around and put in the time and done the thing, you work at the things you love and you're passionate about. But for me, I don't know. I don't think that much about it. I went to see Jackson Browne with my wife last night, and we were just sitting there watching Jackson. He's just such an amazing human being, and he no more cares about the spotlight or all that. He's just the craft. He loves the work. He loves the audience. And he loves the band. So I kind of feel that way.
Well, I think, first of all, thank you for the humility. And I know you are. I was not trying to be facetious on that. But it's really interesting when you get labeled as something, but yet, and you may not say that about me. If you'd say it right now, then you'd be the first one. But the reality is when your wife tells you to take out the kitty litter, it kind of brings it right back to reality that this legend handles cat poop every once in a while.
Well, you always want to try to be at the right end of the cat, though.
So listen. So I want to just jump back. I want to jump into that DeLorean, and we're gonna hit on that flux capacitor, whatever the hell it was, and some of the young people that are, by the way, listening and watching right now, they're wondering what the hell we're talking about.
We just saw that on Broadway, Back to the Future.
No way.
Yes, the lead is.
I didn't even know it was on Broadway.
And the lead, I can't remember. Lena is a real good customer of ours. Been coming for 8 years, but. It's a great show if somebody's coming to town.
Oh, really?
High-powered, energetic, fabulous. Yeah, but go ahead.
I've got to go see it when I get back.
It's time travel.
Yeah. But now, okay, we just got in it. We're getting out of it, and we're back to that 17-year-old kid that just got out of beauty school. So you must have been, you went in when you were about 16 then, is that right?
I went in the fall before I turned 17. My birthday's in November. So I went in, and I would have been going into my senior year of high school, but the teachers just wouldn't accommodate my needs. And so I ended up getting sent home one day, and my mom says to me, your dad's going to be here for lunch, and he's going to be very pissed off that you're here. And so why don't you come with me? She did a 2-hour gig a day doing the books for a beauty school.
Oh, wow.
5 days a week. And I went with her. Yeah. And that was
it. You got hooked.
Yeah. Well,
it's funny how we share so many things that are similar. You said that you didn't agree with the teacher there, wouldn't accommodate you.
Right.
The line I use is I always say, so when I was finished with grade 12, so let me restate that. When I was finished with grade 12, I never finished grade 12. Well, let me put it this way. I finished it. I just didn't pass it. I didn't pass it.
I totally got it. And I never would have gotten a high school diploma had the governor, who I knew of Louisiana, I wanted to own a beauty school. And you can't own a beauty school in Louisiana if you don't have a high school diploma. Oh. So he said, I'm going to do you a favor, Sam. He said, I could sign off and let you get this done. He said, but I'm not going to do it. He said, go get your GED. That's a general education diploma.
Yep.
Here. And I did. And it was a big moment for me.
Good for you.
Yeah, it was a big moment. I didn't realize how important it was.
Yeah, well, maybe when I'm 85, I'll run back for mine, be the oldest kid in there. But you went to beauty school, but then what I found really interesting is shortly after that, you decided that you're going to go to London, and you spent several monthly interns at Sassoon's.
I did.
What prompted that?
Well, I mean, I was certainly very curious, and I was watching Modern Salon magazine mostly at that time, as I recall. Yeah. And I saw some images, and I couldn't understand how they were done. So then I saw a small ad for the Davies Muse Vidal Sassoon Academy. Yep. I went to my boss, and I told him I wanted to go, and he was just this amazing guy. And at the time, I didn't understand what it was, but he gives me like a roll, $500 in $20 bills. he was giving me the cash. But anyway, he said, go. He said, go.
I was going to ask his name, but now I'm not going to.
But I'm not sure. I've tried to track him down numerous times. But yeah, so I went over in 73-ish, as I recall, was the first time. And I stayed at a tiny little place right off of Davies Mews. And I stayed there the first time for a month. Everybody was there. Vidal was there. Trevor was there.
Wow.
Everybody was there. And then Christopher Brooker was there. Roger Thompson, all of them. They were all there. And we would have these sessions constantly.
Yeah.
And I learned about truffles, the food, the dessert.
I was going to say, I recall a lot of the haircuts. I don't recall the truffle.
No, there wasn't one called the truffle. It was magical.
Yeah. But you know what? Just one step aside from that is what I find so unfortunate right now is so many people might not even know who some of those people they'll know if they don't know Vidal Sassoon, then I don't know what rock you just crawled out from under.
Yeah.
But I just did an interview with Trevor just the other day, and some people here in America don't know who Trevor is.
Yeah. Well,
and it's a shame. I think everybody should know people's history. Where did all this stuff come from?
I read a book that a friend of mine from the 7th grade just sent to me randomly years ago, and it was called The History of Our Future. And I remember a lot about the book. It was about the world and business and all, but the name itself always has resonated with me about everything I do. What's the history of what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah.
And to me, that is so important to go back and look at your roots to understand them, because that's where some of this stuff first started. And make sure you get your story right and understand, what is this? What is it really about? Because there's a lot of noble, fabulous people who paid a lot of dues to help us get to the place we're sitting right now.
Yeah. And, and I find it that this is a little bit of it bothers me when I hear people that say, I invented this haircut. Well, if you really understand where stuff comes from, you'll just go, no, you didn't.
Right.
And when people say that, if they would understand that for people that know, they just turn those people off rather than saying, I'm paying homage to.
Yeah.
And I think that no matter what we do in our industry, if we could just pay homage to the people and honor the people where all of this came from.
You definitely, you will and you can do that, but you have to do your research.
Yeah. Well, and if people are thinking that when you say I invented this versus this is my homage to, you're actually seen bigger in someone's eyes because you recognize where it came from.
Yeah.
You knew what it was, and then you paid tribute to that. And I just think that, I went through ego periods too. I'm not saying that I didn't do it. I'm not saying any of that. But I think that when you really pay homage, you're seen so much bigger in people's eyes than if you let your ego take over and try to think it's just me.
I do think that one of the great things about doing research and understanding the history of where we've been, it gives you a chance to be able to say, okay, I get that history. I want to point my light in a different direction, and I want to find my path. I want to make my path. Some of it will be copied. Some of it will be derivations of that. But at the end of the day, it'll be self-validating, and it'll be something that leaves me feeling fulfilled, frustrated 99% of the time, but fulfilled.
But that's what creativity is about, though, isn't it?
Of course, yeah.
I've always said, and this has been my MO, is I always went, and I've told people this before, some people that listen to all of our podcasts, if you've done that and you're one of those one or two, then I would say,
I'm working my way through.
Well done. I've told this to people in a past one, but I've said, if you really want to know how something is done, copy what that work is so you can understand it, then take it and build on your own from there, because that's where the secret is.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I would add to that is copy, being yourself, being centered, being present, and all of a sudden, unbeknownst to you, you will have veered off course from the copy and created the new original. And that's what humanity is about, in my opinion, and the beauty of our business. And you just keep copying, and then all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, this is a little different. I'm coming up with it. But you have to be present, and you have to really want to be informed.
Yeah. Oh, great words. Great words.
Thank you.
So I read a little tweak there that, that your father was a little more than just a parent to you, that he was a mentor.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Yes. My dad was an architect. He was one of two sons. He had a brother that was also a very successful architect. And from the minute, I remember my dad told me that when he quit doing residential architecture work was because the women, mother and wives were driving him crazy, changing things.
Yeah.
And he said,
Yeah.
so I'm going to tell you from experience, you probably don't want to be a hairdresser for women. And I did not take his advice. But what I did do was I sat down with my dad for many hours doing drawing and sketches and working on a thing. I call it multi-plane hair cutting. It was my cutting design system, which we still teach in my salon today.
That's awesome.
And he helped me understand the structural integrity of anything that we built. And so then we progressed to actually building hair salons. And I mentioned it earlier to you before we got on some of the real estate investments that my wife Holly and I have are buildings that my dad actually sat down with me and we drew and would design. He would take a ball of kite string. And so this one salon was 7,800 square feet, and he would tie the kite string to the front desk, and then he would drag it all the way across the salon. And if he couldn't see a line of sight that equaled a minimum of 80% of the space, he would say, we have to change it. We have to change it. So
smart man.
He was constantly doing that. And so he's just wonderful. I mean, he really encouraged me not to say that I am far more my mother than I am my dad, believe it or not. I'm way more like my mom than I am my dad. My dad was he was the architectural engineer, He was that guy that really would get the fine details. And my mother was just this massive learner. She got 7 kids up and out of the house and went straight back to high school, college, studying like crazy and writing till 11 o'clock at night and all. So it's a very interesting combination. She was a country girl and he was a little more refined city boy with a higher education, and she came with less education. So, but I am a lot more like her, my energy and my determination to learn and to never give up and never really judge myself and try not to judge myself and just move forward. Yeah, but I was fortunate. My dad's a great guy.
Yeah.
Frank.
Well, and it sounds like, one thing and just as little known fact, I'm a part of a group of people, both my son and I and my wife are a part of a franchise of beauty schools. And the one thing that gets me all the time is that when people come in and they'll say, well, you can't make money in this business. And then they'll say that they should go to university or college or whatever first. And then if they want to get into it, they should. But didn't your dad tell you something about that he didn't want you to go to college? And
well, more specifically, he knew that I didn't have the bandwidth to sit and study and do things the way he had done it. He could see that the way I was more emotive, I like touching things, and it was just a different energy. And I think he had the insight and the wisdom enough to be able to say to me, I don't know if that would be for you to try to do what I've done, which I didn't really want to be an architect. It looked pretty boring to me. What they designed and finished looked fabulous. It was just the trek on the way to getting there. He definitely nudged me into it, and then nudged me into opening my own business.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So have you always been business-minded? Like, I find that so many people in our industry just like you're one way or the other. You're either very, very creative and you just want everything to do with just creativity, and yet the business side can fall off. And that's why I think a lot of our salons don't make it. They say that they only last, but you're lucky if they last. What was the figure I heard? And this wasn't about just salons. This was business in its totality. 85% of the businesses don't make it past 5 years.
That's right.
So, were you always business-minded? Was it
I had someone tell me the other day, if you make it through your first 10-year lease in Manhattan, you're a successful business. So we're on year 15. was always business minded. I'll tell you what happened. I opened the salon when I opened my own little place. I talked to one of my best friends into being a hairstylist. My mom would help me shampoo and books and stuff like that. And I was just blowing and going and stacking up the money. Credit cards were just becoming MasterCard, I think it was called, was just coming out. So I would end the day with a stack of cash, a few checks, and no credit card yet. And so I was just taking the cash and putting it under my mattress and putting the checks in the bank because that was the only way you get your money back from them. I didn't even understand that you were supposed to be depositing all the money to blah, blah, blah. I really did not understand that. And by the way, my dad was an artist in that way also. He wasn't the greatest businessman. He did well, but he wasn't. So I actually stumbled upon a accountant, a CPA, but right before I stumbled on him, I brought my girlfriend Valerie over to my apartment, and I brought her in the bedroom and lifted up the bed, and there was just rows and rows of $20 bills stacked up. And she goes, "Wow!" And in today's dollars, I've gone back and calculated about $38,000 in cash. So the next day or two, Valerie's mom shows up to get this awesome little bowl cut that I used to give her, beautiful little bowl cut. And she says, "Sam, why was Valerie in your bedroom?" And then she says, "But more importantly, what are you doing with all that cash?" So that same day, I bought my first piece of investment real estate. The minute she said to me, "Okay, Sam, you're going to buy this house and it's going to have a duplex and you're going to live upstairs and the person downstairs is going to pay for the electricity, the gas, the mortgage, taxes and everything, and you're going to live for free." I went, "Wow, got it." And I just hung on to that, Chris. I dug into it from every angle. At one point, I owned about 130 doors, as I used to call them. Sometimes I call it 130 toilets. And I eventually backed off of that and redistributed it. But so, I was kind of forced to understand it because some really smart people stepped into my life and stirred me up a little bit and pointed me in the right direction. So a lot of fortunate moments, people coming in, angels, a lot of angels.
Was a couple of those Paul Mitchell and Horst?
Paul more than Horst in the way they were so different. Paul was such a loving, kind, Paul was that kind of just this wonderful soul. He would do anything, and he was so encouraging, and he would come stay with us and all. And he encouraged me. I started writing. He said, "Sam, you need to write the book. You need to tell people the story." And so Paul was the one that did that. On the flip side, Horst was the total opposite. I flew to Minneapolis to meet with Horst, and I said, "I want to start my own product line." He goes, "I must own 51% of it, or you can't have a product line, or I won't have anything to do with it." And I go, whoa, I don't want you to own it. I want you to make it for me. Well, here I am. I didn't have any clue what a private manufacturer was. I didn't know, you have toll manufacturing, private label, and all that. So the next day, someone called me, Rocco Altabelli, and said, "You know what?" I actually called him, and I said, "What's wrong with Horst? He was so mean to me." So I learned from Horst a lot. Yeah. And so, they both encouraged me in way different ways, quite different ways.
I'm still, I get to do these podcasts and talk to all these amazing people. But what gets me is, I go, how in the hell did you get to meet Paul Mitchell?
So I'm going to give a tip of the hat to your alma mater. Yeah. The Edwin Smokey Neal was the distributor for, at that time, pretty much just Redken, maybe some Revlon. Yep. And Paul and JP, Paul had first, right before JP, had called Edwin because they knew him from the Smokey world. And they called him, and Paul was flying in, and Edwin and I had become closer and closer friends because I was the youngest, newest, hottest kid around. So he calls me, he says, "I want you to meet somebody." This is exactly how I met Paul and Horst. I met Horst in the kitchen at the house drinking cayenne pepper, and I met Paul on the front porch of Smokey's house smoking pot. And I have to say, I wasn't smoking pot at the time. I was a hardcore runner and a vegetarian. But anyway, so that's how I first met. And then Paul came back to town and I believe, he said, can you come help me? And I went to a hotel, and I go in a hotel room, and it was just so decadent. Everybody was wrapped in just sheets. And they all looked at me and they said, can you roll pot? Or something like that. But anyway, so that's how I met Paul. And then Holly and I, he would come stay at the house when he was touring around the country and do his laundry and all that. And we became inseparable friends. We talked on the phone constantly, and he was such a good guy.
He's a brilliant, brilliant gentleman, and no matter who you talk to, he always said that, that when he was in your life, he made your life better.
Yeah.
So it was just such a shame that we lost him.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, by the way, my brother Marcus, who was a hairstylist, died of pancreatic cancer.
I'm sorry.
Paul died of pancreatic cancer.
Pancreatic cancer,
Horst died of pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
And John Sahag died of pancreatic cancer. I'm sure there are many, many more.
Yeah. But I've got a good friend who, hairdresser as well, and had it, but is fine. I mean, he got through it, believe it or not. Yeah, because usually you don't. It's not that.
No,
but
that's amazing.
God bless. That was just great. So what? So you were in. You're in the you graduated beauty school. You went to Sassoon's. You came back to Baton Rouge, right?
Yeah.
Is that where?
Baton Rouge. New Orleans and raised pretty much in Baton Rouge.
Yeah. So, but now, what switch? You've educated all over the world.
Pretty much, yeah.
What?
Tokyo.
Yeah.
Europe.
I mean, well,
a lot of places.
What was the switch that got you into education? Like, what happened?
I would go to London and I was broke. I didn't have any money. I just started. And I was spending all my money going to London. So I would book classes with really mostly the hairdressers from New Orleans. And they would all come over to Baton Rouge and pay me $250 for a 2-day intensive. And I would teach them everything I know. So I'd spend $2,500 going to London and I'd make $5,000 on that. So I just kept leveraging that and going more and more frequently. I mean, I was going 6 times a year for 1 3-year period to London. I'd pop over to Paris and check out what the French were doing, and once or twice down to Milan or something. But I mostly, and Chris, the thing that's interesting, for me, interesting. The idea of capitalism and the game of business always was an integral part of my salon and craft experience. And I think that's different than for some people. I can name people that it's quite the same for, but I think that part of what drew me to the flame was the passion of learning, and it was so much to learn, and those little fine lines to make sure that corner is just right, and working on that damn 5-point haircut for days and days and days. But at the end of the day, I ended up with this. That's why I called the book I wrote Beautiful Business, because it's left brain, right brain. Beautiful is about creativity and right brain is about the business. And I realized very early on that if I didn't have a sound foot in the business side of it, I might not be able to perpetuate this dream job forever and ever. And so far, 54 years or so, 53. 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting what you were just saying, because that right brain, left brain, business person, creative is, and I think that there was a gentleman, shall remain nameless, out of the UK that one time I think it was very early 70s, poo-pooed the idea of retailing because he said, "I'm an artist, not a salesman."
Yeah.
And I think, whether that just came from that one point or whether it came from, I think most people feel that sales is a harmful act to some people.
Yeah.
In other words, I'm at the beginning, I don't make a lot of money, and if I try to get you to spend on something that I know you need, I don't have the money for it. You probably won't have the money for it.
Yeah.
And I think that is perpetuated to a degree within our industry. It's that, people think that upselling or retailing or all of the things that we need to do for proper business so that, and here's the catch that I've always had, so you can provide for your family, that is, they kind of throw it away and just hope that people are going to give them money. And what's your take?
Well, as I told, I cut Aaron's hair at 2:00 today before I zipped back over here to my apartment to talk to you. And Aaron was, for me personally, I'm the cavalry in my salon. When they need somebody to take care of something, so I step in and she gets color done. It's beautiful. And I'm looking at her scalp. I said, Aaron, we got to work on your scalp ASAP. She's got hair missing. She's got a little bit of scaling. So I immediately said, this is what you're going to buy. You're going to buy Scalp Theory and Feed Your Head, 2 products I make. But you're going to buy these and you're going to use them. And I want you back in here in 4 weeks. And I want to make sure, that you're making the progress and we're going to get you a healthier scalp. But coincidentally, she's an architect. She's probably about 50 or so. She says, great, I'll buy 2 of each. I said, well, you don't really need to do that, but if that's what you want to do, fine. So I really think that we are at a time right now, Chris, where the skinification of scalp, as what's been some of the buzzwords, is such a huge opportunity for us to make recommendations by really deeply digging into an understanding of how hair grows and the needs it has, including, of course, the styling. But I mean, that nude girl and naked girl makeup look is in the hair too. That's what's going on. Right. So I think more than ever, we need to find the dialogue, and if you're struggling with the dialogue, all you have to do is ask Bard. I mean, just go in there and say, give me some great dialogue for speaking with a 13, 16, 20-year-old, 30-year-old woman with curly hair, blah, 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 blah. And you go, and then you take that and you size it up to what you need in your own salon. And it really, I think it's a wonderful time to be making recommendations and personalizing things more than ever.
Yeah, and I think that what I love that you said is to get your, and as much as I don't like the word scripting because it makes it sound like you're just pushing a button and just spitting out the words, but so you learn to say the right thing in the right way to a client so that they buy into what you have to say, not buying you, not selling if they have that. I've had people say, well, I don't sell, I recommend. I went, okay, well, you pick the word. But the reality is, if once you learn the right words to say and phraseologies to say to people, the way you take care of your family and the money you earn is so much greater.
Yeah. Well, and a good example of it, and the idea of doing something 10,000 times to master it. I mean, I've been hacking away at playing the guitar since I was 15 years old. I have a guitar right here next to me. I can pick this guitar up and strum a Jackson Browne song or whatever it may be, but I haven't played it 10,000 times. And unless I will play it 10,000 times, I'm not going to master it. And I think it's that discomfort that people have with scripted dialogue in the opening part of their career, that's where they stumble a little bit. No, I don't want to do it that way. I'll figure it out. No, you probably won't figure it out. You'll learn it, and then you'll build upon it. So,
it's the way that comes to my brain is, it's funny. People don't want to script, but they'll tell a joke, and the joke is almost verbatim because they've developed the joke over X amount of time, and they will use that.
Yeah.
You see it, but that's all. That's all that scripting and practicing is it's getting dialogue, putting it in your brain, saying enough times so it comes off natural, and you don't have to think about it or stumble across the words, and it just makes it so much more natural. And that's all it really is. And I think that's when we talk about scripting, et cetera. That's generally how it comes to me. But I'm seeing you said it earlier that you're more like your mom and your dad with the learning.
Yeah.
And I know before we were doing all our technical stuff, getting ready for the show, is you said that you over COVID, when all that is, we'll use that word again, as much as we're trying to stay away from it.
Yeah.
But this massive learner, tell us more about what you were doing over COVID.
Sure.
And yeah.
So, of course, we were locked down, fortunately, only for about 115 days here in New York City. And my wife and I would go to the salon every day. But even a little bit before that, before COVID actually hit, I started investigating some online training to up my game, because I have a fabulous chemist that I've worked with for almost 30 years. She's a master, and she can make anything, anytime. But I decided I wanted to be able to tinker and do a little more actual brewing stuff myself, partially because I don't see me standing behind the chair when I'm 85 years old. I physically, I know my mentor, Jameson Shaw, stood there until he was at least 80. God bless him.
And he just passed, so
And so a part of it, I was curious. So I started doing some looking around, and I found a group out of the UK that did some very serious, super high quality online training at a relatively reasonable price. And I just got obsessed with it. I have a small lab in the back of my salon that doubles as my office. And you know how big space is in New York City. I mean, it's tiny. So I'm in there. I've got my laptop, and I'm studying and writing and studying. And along the way, I had just taken 2 certifications in aromatherapy, 2 full 1-week courses in aromatherapy to kind of build out my fragrance profile, my aroma profile, so that when I started actually mixing and making stuff. So once I started studying, I started on organic hair care, and the teacher said, look, Sam, we think you need to do organic skin care first. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And I pushed back, and and then finally one day I said, okay, I'll do it. So I fell in love with the skincare. I'm not getting into the skincare business. I know my lane. I know where I want to be. But so I studied, and everything's online, and taking all the tests. I was on it today. I was working on it earlier today on one piece of it, and I've got seven badges now, including marketing, branding. Chris, I went to 55 hours of night class at FIT here in branding about 7 years ago. I go every 2 nights a week. And it was things like that just fuel my soul, that make me just keep pushing forward. I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So I would recommend to anybody that, just do some searching around online. There's some good places, particularly out of the UK, for online studying. You have to be committed to it. And if you try to do it, you need to understand, I personally have a huge advantage, and that is I can call a manufacturer, not a finished goods guy, but someone that makes like a pure caffeine or pure glycerin or something like that. And I can ask them for a free sample, and those guys will send me so much stuff. It's challenging to get the ingredients in tiny quantities to make 50 ml or make 100 ml of that dream shampoo you want, or whatever it may be, or whatever it may be. But I will say that as someone that has loved and still loves touching hair and touching people and being in that space, that's my happy space. That woman, Erin, is the only person I saw today, and she and I were just like so connected. It felt so good. I don't want to stop doing it, but I know at some point I will. So what will I do? I don't want to get out of the business. I damn sure don't want to retire. So So that's why I study so much on particular. I'm starting a biomolecular chemistry course that starts in about 7 weeks online.
Wow.
To get 80 hours.
My hat's off to you, bud. And I can tell them, I think they convinced you correctly when they said that you should go to skincare, because for anybody watching right now, if they look at his skin and they look at my skin, I think it has a big result on here. So you're already selling me on it. So when we greeted today, I told Sam, I said, Sam, I hate you. I said, you're really getting me PO'd here, because, I'm looking at me and I'm looking at you. And I said, you haven't aged. And I went from brown hair and a red beard to, well, let's just call it what it is right now.
But Chris, I just want to tell you, I see your NAHA awards in the background and things like that. And I'm proud to say I certainly have those. But you are such an icon. And I did some research again before, we got on this call. And you have just so passionately worked, and your love of teaching and helping other people grow. It's infectious. Wouldn't make me go back on the road, but it makes me think about it.
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, thank you.
You're welcome.
Secondly, I just think that the reason why people of our ilk, the ones that went through all the pain and the bullshit we had to go through and the mistakes we had to make, because there was nobody out there to help us.
Yeah.
And I think it's our responsibility now. We've got it. We have to help the young kids that are going through it. And if we don't help them, because our business takes a bit longer to get into than working at McDonald's. I had somebody say to me the other day, well, listen, why would I want to start in a salon and pick a number? I don't even know what that is anymore. But make that number when I can make $21 working at McDonald's.
Yeah,
and I'll say, you know
stay.
what? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
If you put in some time and some energy, you can make six figures.
Absolutely.
And I'm not talking about that you get half of that. You can make six figures. That's your take-home stuff. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you work in McDonald's, you're going to be making $21 for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and I've heard and listened to people in and around the industry talking about, we need to brag more about how much money some people are making. I have a little less comfort with that, generally speaking, but I will say that, we have 22-year-olds that are making $140 take home plus tips. Mm. And they have a price point that's Manhattan, but they also have a cost of living that's Manhattan, New York.
Exactly.
But the bottom line is they work the program and they're consistent with it and they're totally committed. And what I noticed, Chris, is that the young people, a lot of them, and we have to remind them, depend on us to be the thing that holds you up more because we're here to support you through the discomfort of not quite being sure that you should or you do want to do this. Wait a while. Everybody, I did that. It was so scary at first. Am I going to make it? Am I right for this? All these crazy people. Anyway, what a fabulous.
Well, but to that point, I mean, and I just want to do this, and this is that you have. I always tell people, go to places when you're starting out. Go to places that have an amazing training program.
Yeah.
So let's just say I'm that young kid that's starting out. I know that the small town that I live in is not where I want to go to, but I want to learn. I want to get better at what I want to do. I want to eventually, and I always say, if I say I want to be like Sam Brocato, I don't mean be Sam Brocato, but I want to be able to take advantage so that I know I have that person as a mentor that I can just say, look, that's who idealistically, that's the type of person I want to be, but I want to be me. Do you ever get people that come from smaller areas and want to move to New York and then want to work for you?
Yeah. Our director of cutting education, Christy, is from Spokane, Washington. And she's been here and she, you know it, Chris. New York isn't waiting for anybody. No. You have to really, really want to be here and pay your dues. The spaces, I'll see these TV shows and I have these big apartments and all that. And I'm like, look at that bullshit. Who lives in an apartment like that? I mean, you've got to. So, we have a lot of people do that. And right now we have about 7 people, apprentices right now between cutting and styling. And I would say 4 of them or 5 of them are not from here. And we've reached the point of actually saying to them, only 1 out of 7 will be here in 21 months. We've actually tell them, and we just say, listen, don't be afraid. If you can't do it, you don't want to do it, decide early, move on, get it done. Yeah. And so, but you can go anywhere where there's a population. If you want to be close to money, you want to make money, be around people that are processing a lot of intelligence. And that have money to spend. Not processing information, processing intelligence. Because intelligence is so important to our world now more than ever before. Not just information, but intelligence. And have money to spend.
Yeah, I remember my coach told me is if you want to be a millionaire, you should hang around with 5 people that are millionaires. Yeah. Because they say if you want to be a millionaire, if you're not a millionaire but you hang around 5 people, you'll be the 6th. So you just have to hang around with those people that have the intelligence, the know-how, and the wherewithal to give you the information.
Yeah.
Some people are so close guarded by it. It's tough that. That's why I always say, go to people that are giving, and if they're willing, if you see people that are giving, and they have a program, and let's face it, I tell this to everybody. Everybody's so worried about people leaving the salon. Everybody leaves the salon. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We left the salon.
That's right.
We moved on to somewhere else. Yeah. But if you're going to teach somebody how to be as good as you got to know they're going to go away, and that's okay.
Yeah, it is,
because it's a hell of a lot better than not giving them the information and they're hanging around.
Well, and the real fault to the person that's worried about people going away is not building a brand that the customer wants to stay with.
Yes,
Erin, the person I did this afternoon, she had someone that was with us and that left, and she said, "I want to be here. I want to keep coming here." I charge $270 for a haircut. She wants to pay $125 or so. Who should I go to? And I give her 3 names for $125, $135, $150, whatever it is. Yeah. But that's building a brand that has elasticity and a presence in the mind and the heart of the consumer. And if you're worried about your business, you're worried about people leaving, then you're worried about the wrong thing. Don't worry about people quitting. Worry about customers not coming back.
Yeah, I love that we're talking prices here, because the one thing that I think is prevalent in our industry is that so many people are afraid to raise their price. They're afraid to charge more for fear that somebody's going to go away, and it's such a misaligned concept. Yeah, because you charged, $75, $120, $150, $175 before you got to $275. Mm-hmm. And I think that the more people would realize that, and it was, to me, it was very simple, and I'm just going to use simple math because that's not my MO. I'm not a math genius. But people say, well, what? I charge $10. Well, I said, well, it's easy. Do you want to change yours to $15? Well, then give them a $15 haircut right now while you're charging $10.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you're giving them a value haircut right now and you raise up a small amount, nobody's going to care because you're getting that value now. But when you move, you're going to give them a $15 haircut. Yeah. Now you better be giving them a $25 haircut and make sure that the value is up in there.
And you have to keep going back to the well and keep learning. I'm a member.
Exactly.
I'm a member of Intercoiffure. I'm actually on the board right now. We have 2 meetings a year. I almost never miss. And I sit in those meetings, I sit in those rooms, and I listen, and I've done it since 1979. And I do it because I know that I need to replenish. I need to resharpen, the blade and be ready to keep moving forward with it. There's a lot. I would think that if I were in any town in America, including New York, New York is a little easier because you have 8 to 15 million people, whatever the demographic is, 20 million in the radius. But if you're in your town, you say, I want to charge a top price, then you need to find out how many people are in the earning capacity of that price. And you can backload that and come up with a number. It may be a $50 haircut. It may be a $35. It may be a $70 haircut. You need to find out who's doing it, where the people are, and what are their pain points.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's such, and I think if I could get rid of anything in the industry, if I could, snap my fingers, it would be the fear. Yeah. Just the fear of raising prices, because you are going to lose some people, and that's okay.
Yeah, I hope.
But you'll replace them with a higher price number that truly value what you do.
And I'll tell you what, I have one right now that I could double my price to, and I just kind of wish she'd go away, but she'd keep coming. And so
that's the one that won't. You could charge her $2,000. She's, some people are born, bred, raised, put in the face of the earth just to be a pain in the ass for some of us.
I'm not kidding you. It's just the craziest thing. But you know what? I am thankful every single day that I get to do it, that I get to show up, I get to be with these people, touch them, talk to them, and feel their vibes and all. It's just amazing. What humanity, wow.
Yeah. I read a quote just the other day that you said, and I'm going to just read it here. It's written down, so if I'm looking down, you'll know why.
I keep looking down.
This is what I read, and this was your quote, and I've got quotation marks around it. It's not like we're sitting around thinking we're going to get rich. What we do, let me read that again. It's not like we're sitting around thinking we're going to get rich. what we do is enrich.
Uh-huh.
Give me a little more, elaborate on that a little bit more.
Well, I think you have to realize you have to be in the times you live in, not the age you are, but the age you live in of people, of humanity. And I think that if you really, particularly right now, I personally, Chris, my son that does the film work, Coley, I'm ready for him to come show up at the salon if it's necessary, become a part of the salon, because I'm so aware of what's going on a large scale when it comes to the work we do. I think this is a chance for us as an industry like never before to show that we are humanity. We're like 2 miles wide, meaning there's so many different people that come in, but we only need to be 2 inches deep because there's so much deep stuff going on that people don't need it. They want to know that it's, hey, you know what, it's chill. I'm going to go in and, I'm going to enjoy myself, and Sam's going to give me a great shape and style and cut, and I'm going to get great color and all that. So to enrich is to be able to identify the pain points that people have and then try to fulfill their needs. And right now, people are really worked up in so many different ways. I'm not even going to get off on that.
I just that was just brilliant, especially when it comes to enrich, that you identify people's problems and you help them solve them.
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings right now is pain points. I know that's not something brand new, but if you look around, there's a fellow right out my front door here who's got to be 60 to 70 years old. He's homeless. He's living right there on the sidewalk. He looks like an average white guy from Wall Street, but he's filthy. He's living in, it's terrible. And you can't approach him. Yeah. And I think about what's the difference, and except for the grace of God, as the saying goes.
Yeah, for the grace of God go you and I.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's so important to really be in touch with the times that you're living in and apply that to the things that you're passionate about. And if you're not passionate yet about being a hairdresser, be patient.
Yeah,
it is it's some beautiful work.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% on that. Were there? I mean, everybody looks at you and they see what you're doing, and they see you that you're evolving into, and I'm going to give you the title of chemist right now, whether you want to take that on or not.
I like
formulator. Okay, that's a.
Yeah, I don't want to insult my chemist friends. I know where they are. They're true scientists.
Yeah, but you've been through that. You've been through salons. You've been through, having things in your life, being educators, etc. Just because I want, to me, it's really important that people see some of the stuff that we had to climb through. Yeah. I'll say stuff because that's just better than some of the other words that I use for that. But was there any tough times that you had to go through?
Well, I didn't do that. I kept telling myself the homework for this conversation was to write down how many salons I opened and closed over the years. And it's definitely somewhere around 7 or 8 total that I literally, I had to close them. They didn't work. They failed. So I would say all the hardest times I've ever had directly related to the salon business itself. We had the proverbial big walkout back in some year. I remember it cost me $70,000 a month in lost sales. And Holly was pregnant, and my general manager was pregnant, and it was really, really, really painful. And I took it very personal. And I look back on it as a real gift, as a lesson to be learned about leadership and about expectations of other people. And the expectations need to be based upon the results you're trying to accomplish in the work that you're trying to do. And you have this agreement amongst you about the work. You have agreement about integrity and truthfulness and do no harm, those things. But you really have this covenant around the work on behalf of the guest. And I didn't focus on that as much. I thought it was about us, meaning me and my employees and the hairdressers. It wasn't. It was about the interaction with the guests. And that's where we took our eye off the ball. The people that left took their eye off the ball. I took my eye off the ball, and the ball was. I used to do classes. And I'd draw a star on a flip chart, and I'd say, "See that star? That's the guide. That's our North Star. That's our customer." I said, and I'm over here, and you're over here, and you're over here, and we're all screaming at each other and doing all this shit. And she's walking out the door saying, I'm going to find a place that brings me peace, tranquility, beauty, someplace I really want to go, a sanctuary, a memorable place. And that's what we're focusing on now. Our conversation is all about, we want to be that place. And we don't want to be that place at the cost of other salons.
Yeah. What I really love that you said there, and I want to make sure that people listening or watching get it, is that we can have those things where we have a rough patch, but we survive, we get through, we rebuild, we learn from the mistake that we made, and we grow from there.
Yeah.
My teacher always talked about when you have problems, think about it like a funnel. You know, you got this open end at the bottom, big wide open end at the top. Mm-hmm. And if you think about your success or the money that you really want to get to is at the top, and I don't mean metaphorically, I just mean or I do mean it metaphorically. Yeah. That's where you're trying to climb up to. It's bottom, it's very narrow. At the top, it's wider. And if you can imagine, every time you do something and make a mistake, you're kind of like bouncing from one side of the funnel to the other. But what I found so life-changing for me was when my coach told me that you learn from the mistake. Imagine your first bounce, you learn from that mistake, and then you learn from it and you bounce back and you go up a little higher on the other side. And you learn from that one and you bounce up to the other side. But if you can't get past that one mistake, that's where you stay forever.
You're stuck.
You're stuck.
Yeah.
And you just get stuck in that one position because you didn't try to move on from the other. We made the choice just to say, I can't do that, or I won't go further, or I won't try to get past this, or I'm just going to worry about, my sympathy for me. And I think that what I love that you've said, and I've seen you I've known you way longer than I've actually can call you my friend, but I've seen how you've done that, and you've always learned from your mistakes, and you always have been so gracious to say, look, that's where I've been at, but now this is where I'm going to go to, and you always evolve and go further.
Yeah. Chris, one of my favorite sayings now is, and this is arrogant being older, is ask forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah.
Time is not on our side. I mean, there's less time in front of us than there was behind us. We're not like the 25-year-old people, and not that I would want to be 25 again. These are precious days. I like myself right now probably more than I have ever in my life. It's such gracious time.
Yeah. This episode is sponsored by the Salon Associate Accelerator from trainersplaybook.com. Are you struggling with the time and cost of associate training? Do you feel like your salon is running you? We'll get your associates on the floor, all with 90% less time from you, so you can get back to building your business. Get them world-class design, finishing, color, and client care skills they'll use every day for the rest of their career, while you focus on realizing your vision. Go to trainersplaybook.com and get the Salon Associate Accelerator. And now, back to the show. Listen, I want to throw just something out to you right now. And I don't know where the hell the time gone is. That
Wow.
But this is just what I call a rapid fire round. I'm just going to throw out questions to you, just like one answer, one quick statement, sentence, whatever.
I made some notes.
Oh, you did?
I made a few notes just in case. So if I look down, it's because I don't want to be too spontaneous or think too much. But go ahead.
Listen, I don't care if this is all about you, and I want people to know you in this one. So you go a little further. I don't care. What turns you on in the creative process?
Chaos.
Ooh.
Yeah. If the water's too smooth and even, I got to start splashing. I think, like, for instance, in 2008, as bad as it was, and we took over the salon, I knew how horrible it was, but I knew that we would dig out of it and build something special because everybody was so afraid. This apartment I'm sitting in right now, some young person owned it, and she was afraid to be in New York City, and she ran for the doors, and I made her a lowball offer, and she took it. And so It was chaos. And so to me, you have to have a certain degree of chaos around you. And yeah, that's what turns me on.
Wow. And that I think that is one of the most creative or one of the best responses we've had to that one. I just love it.
Oh, thank you.
What stifles creativity for you?
Well, me, I stifle myself the most. What I've discovered is that I get in my way, as I think everybody does. You get in your own way. But what I've discovered is I have to consume copious amounts of intelligence. And you notice, again, I'm saying I'm moving away from that information word because to me, we're moving away from an information society into an intelligent society because we just are. That's what's happening. So for me, I have to consume quantities of intelligence, and they keep me disrupted enough to where the chaos is in place, and I'm always like, okay, we're gonna figure this out. I drive the people crazy to work around me. Some of them are like, my God, do you ever stop?
Well, this isn't one of the questions here, but that sparks one of the questions that I did want to ask you is you're formulating, you're in the salon, you're always seeking information. People internationally know you. What's your evening like? What do you do in the evening?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty much a creature of habit. So I finish my day at the salon. I usually right around, if you ask my staff, just say he walks out the front door in his gym clothes at 5:00. I walk down to the cheap little gym down the street, and I work out for an hour. I come back. I get my bag packed up. My wife is usually there 90% of the time, and she and I walk the 1.6 miles to the apartment, and we come in. We have dinner together. Sometimes we go out. We have a small dinner club group of people we join up together with periodically, and have a glass of red wine. I'm pretty obsessed with some podcasts right now, so I do that, and I try to every single day pick up the guitar and strum a song. I find that it grounds me. So that's kind of my basic evening.
Yeah. I think it's nice to do things that sort of take your mind off of business as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the a thing, event, show that you've done in the past, taken, whatever, that you loved the most. First thing that comes to your mind.
You mean relative to the industry?
It doesn't matter. I mean, it could be whatever. I had somebody told me about a play in New York that they just absolutely loved. So
when it comes to just love, the things that really deeply move me right now, and no offense to my wife and my 3 children, but I have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter.
Oh.
And to be around her and to hold her and to look at her and the inquisitiveness and the look of hope and determination too. So to me, I don't think you have to have a daughter or a granddaughter. I jokingly say I wish I could have skipped kids and gone straight to grandkids. but I do think that an understanding of that absorbent mind and heart of people is super important. And the only thing I'll add to that is I remember the first time I saw Paul Mitchell do this extremely long cut face framing all the way down to this girl's waist, and it just flowed. And it was I was obsessed. I was so in love with it. Just the material, the hair, just to look at it and the way his hands worked. And he just such a graceful master. And what was great, he wanted to go the opposite direction of what Sassoon, not because he didn't love Vidal, because he wanted to make his own path. And I think that's something that a lot of us probably would benefit from. Not everybody, but I think a lot of people. Anyway, that's something I love.
Excellent. Things in life that you dislike the most?
There's so much division and hatred and ignorance. And I just think that if there were a way for the mirror to reflect back on us and we could see the man and the woman in the mirror and say, you know what, I really probably should just keep my mouth shut on this one.
Yeah.
And choose your battles, know when it's time to fall on the sword, so to speak.
Yeah.
And again, I just think that it's such a it's just sad because there's so much hyper focus on ourselves now, and I think if we just chill and realize that this is not a permanent movie that we're living in. We're just play acting one part for a little while. So
walk-ons, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, true words, my friend. True words. And what is it that you love most about life?
I really am at a stage, Chris, where I'm literally wake up in the morning and before I even get out of bed, I'm going, oh, thank God. I'm so thankful to be able to look out the window or know that, Holly's here with me or have a nice glass of water right when I wake up. I'm super optimistic. I wake up happy. I'm a little more of a morning person. I'm probably a lot more of a morning person. But I'm super optimistic. And again, I'll reflect back. I think our industry is in a sweet spot right now. I really do. And I'm optimistic about that and thankful.
Yeah. I want to have you back on because I want to talk more about that. If you had to say, what was the most difficult time of your life?
Well, the most difficult time in my personal life was sitting with my brother for 7 months as he died of pancreatic cancer.
Oh, Jesus.
I was fortunately set up in a way enough where I could fly home to Louisiana and stay away as much as I needed. Of course, Holly was fine with it. Because he was younger than me.
Yep.
And, he died on a Monday. And on Thursday at 11 a.m., over 700 people showed up at his memorial.
Wow.
And he was just a beautiful person. So I think loss, losing parents and stuff like that is difficult, but it doesn't come near to losing someone like, that. So that was the most painful. Business-wise, it was that big walkout I had back in the 90s. It was, I went to the hospital twice to have them look at my stomach because I had such severe pains in my stomach. And the doctor said, you have an iron drum. Your stomach is fine. You're stressed.
You have an iron drum.
That's exactly what he said. There's nothing wrong with
I love it.
No problem.
Oh, I love it. What was the proudest moment of your life?
Well, of course, you have the children thing, having children. I think the validation of my parents, knowing that I'd broken through at a level in the community. I was, on the cover of business magazines in our area. I was being asked to speak everywhere from bank gatherings to all these things. So I think that's a big part of it. And if you're lucky enough to have had your parents, I think that's a big part of it. I can say NAHA, and I won a world championship in London, and all that. Everybody over there hated me for it. damn American!
No jealousy there.
Damn American!
Whooping our tuckuses.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so the thing that you dislike the most about our industry?
Well, I think we get inside our own heads too much. And I think that if you meet enough people, I remember Jameson, I went to see Jameson for the first time, and Sarah, his wife, he said, go talk to Sarah. So I said, Sarah, this is Sammy. He says, show her the tickets for the day. So she takes this little crank machine, and she goes, here it is. It was like $3,890. And I'm looking, wow, that's amazing. And Sarah looks at me and she goes, that's just Jameson. And
what?
I was doing 500, 400 a day. And it just blew the lid off of my understanding. I would say to anyone at any stage of your career that's listening to this, there's somebody in a glass box ahead of you or above you or out there that you can learn from, benefit from, that'll just open your mind. We don't even realize the level of intelligence that we could embody still in this biological trip we're on, but here we are. And so,
Well, And let's face it, he made some pretty amazing children, didn't he, with Candy? And
absolutely.
Yeah, she's an absolutely wonderful person.
Absolutely.
A living person that you admire the most?
You know what? I guess, damn, I'm going to say that the person I really admire the most, I spend the most time with, is my wife. And I admire her not just because she's Holly and she's put up with me for all these years. I'm going to say it because she represents motherhood, partnership, and the strength of women, and what I've learned from 50-something years of spending my days with women. So I kept thinking and definitely every time I kept coming back around. We have our differences. I mean, we're a couple like anybody else, but yeah, that'd be my answer.
Yeah. Person alive, living, dead, future, past, whatever that you'd want to meet.
I wrote that one down too, and I don't know, Chris. I mean, there's so many. I mean, some people would want to answer some religious leader or some thought leader. I think maybe I'd want to go much further back, and I would want to go back to the earliest moments when people were already dressing, and all that, and we were speaking, but we were just forming as a creation of, on this path of humanity.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is. I could probably go do a little digging and come up with, but it would be someone from hundreds of years ago that I could spend some quality time with and really understand. Because then it would shine such a beacon on the path forward, because I have all that knowledge.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I do.
Yeah. And a line from Back to the Future. Remember, make pantyhose. I'll never forget the line when the young kid that they knew was going to be the genius.
That's great.
Okay, something that people don't know about you.
Well, I was going to say that I've spent all this time really learning to be a formulator, and I sit down and I write recipes now, actually write them out knowledgeably in a way that you can actually make stuff from it, cosmetics. The only other thing I'd say, this is kind of weird because I talk a lot, and I'm pretty shy. I'm private.
Oh.
I'm a private person, not as much shy as I'm private. Yeah. Sometimes friends of mine, some people that'll probably listen to this, I haven't talked to maybe in a year or even a year and a half, 2 years. It's not because I don't love them just as much as I always have. I'm particularly, it's a kind of a private moment for me right now. It's a much smaller dome of inclusion. And so, yeah.
Yeah. We have more in common than you know. A month off. Where would you go? What would you do?
Well, I'm a saltwater island guy, which I don't get to do a whole lot of because Holly doesn't like to do the sunlight too much. So I would split it between a couple of weeks in one of the islands, maybe talk one of my rich friends that have yachts into letting me go out on the boat for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
that's good.
I'll cook.
Exactly, Chris. These guys, I have some friends that have some great boats. But anyway, but I would then go up to, I have a customer who's become a good friend of ours, has 150 acres in Vermont on the side of the hills. She's got a river running through. She has a 4,000 square foot place where she's growing all her food and everything. I'd go spend a couple of weeks reading, just chilling out, just really walking around barefooted.
Oh, that's amazing. What's your greatest fear?
Well, I just discovered in the last 6 or 7 years that I've become a little claustrophobic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of heights. My brothers and I, particularly Mark.
I'm terrified of heights.
Oh my God, we did a lot of bridge diving.
Oh.
So
you just said it and my butt puckered.
Yeah, I even in the salon, we have these beautiful candles. I'll walk in the salon. We have 2 bathrooms. One's larger by twice. And I walk in, I close the door, and all that's in there is that little light flickering that candle. I love that. I told Gian, one of the guys that works for him, I said, Gian, it's so cool. You go in, close the door, and all you have is that little flicker of a light. oh, it scared the shit out of me. So I'm pretty fearless in a lot of ways, but I think I've become a little claustrophobic.
Yeah, friend of yours and mine, Sam Villa, is probably one of the most claustrophobic people I know. And when we get an elevator, I always try to push him to the back, and it's just this, mess. I'm remember Chris's S&M starter kit here. I get such a, I'm gonna remember and he gets so pissed off at me. Okay, good. Favorite curse word?
I don't really have a favorite curse word. I mean, I think everybody defaults to fuck, but I mean,
but you use them all. Pretty much with gratitude.
Yeah. I'm thankful. I read the other day that really intelligent people curse a lot.
They curse a lot.
I just think it was
I'm the first guy that will, because I do curse a lot, but the reality is that just shows them right then and there that it's not. Not true.
I've been more guarded about that at work.
Yeah, me too. I've been trying as well.
Yeah.
Favorite comfort food?
Pasta. I walk over here to Italy, which I know you know. I get the freshest pasta they made within the last half hour, and then I'll sometimes buy a sauce, a tomato sauce or whatever, and we'll buy some fresh Parmesan. That really is it. I mean, it's a lot of calories or a lot of whatever carbohydrates and all, but absolutely, definitely positively.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to have that comfort stuff. That's going on.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would that be?
About myself?
Yeah.
I would. So I'd go back and change in time, or
if anything you could change about yourself, what would that be?
I would have definitely spent more time in higher education. Not because I think it would have changed my trajectory in the world of capitalism or any of that. It's just that structured learning is a very good guidepost for movement along your life, I think. So.
Yeah. What would your most treasured possession?
Well, let's see. My most physically treasured, something that if I were going to run out the door, I'd grab my Ovation guitar that I bought in the late 70s right near the Ovation plant in Connecticut. So that's very trivial, but that would, and then, and I don't possess my family, but it would be my family. I mean, I have all these things. You know what I mean? I have plaques and honors and stuff like that. Those are all nice, and it means a lot to me.
Yeah, you know what I did? You know what I did when we left New York is I just took pictures of them all because I figured that way if something ever happened in a fire or whatever,
you'd remember.
I'd still have the pictures.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay, something in the industry that you haven't done but you'd like to.
I talked to Holly about that question a little bit because I really don't. I mean, I've never done, although I can't remember his name now, that started extensions in London 50 years.
Oh, yeah. Molten Brown. Yeah. It was, what's his name?
Very, very strong look guy.
Almost
a Frankenstein-y look. But
bingo.
Anyway, I've never done that. And so from a servicing standpoint, there's really, I've done so much stuff. I've been blessed to do so many things. I've built big salons. The businesses, I've built them, I've sold them, I've closed them, and I've owned the schools and, made product lines. The Brocato line is still out there. It's in the hands of my former partner. And now we have Together Beauty. But I don't, I guess there is one thing, and I watch people around me. I've watched people have a brand that goes along and takes off, and it just sort of get out of the way, damn it, it's coming for you, sort of thing. And I've never experienced that. We've had years where we did around 15 million or so at Brocato, or 11 to 15 million, I can't remember exactly. But I never saw that 70 to 100. So on a pure capitalistic, wow, that would have been cool to see. Maybe something like that. But
yeah. If you had one do-over that you could do in your life, what would it be?
Well, it would be business And it would have been an absolute hard yes, Arnie. I will trade 2% of the Matrix stock to be involved with the company and move to where you're headquartered in.
Wow!
Right before he died, he asked me to come join the company. We went up and visited with them, and if I give you 2%, you can keep your business. He said, but I want you to be involved with us. And I just had a bad breakup with a former partner, and I was just paranoid about it.
Yeah.
And I said no. And so the people that did take the 2%, they're like $125 million in value and more.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? I said yes to when I sold my salon company, and I'm glad.
Yeah.
Mostly I did.
There we go. Okay, last one for this, and then I got one more question after this. Not rapid fire, but tomorrow you couldn't do hair. What would you do?
I would double down on my formulating skills. I might even consider getting a chemistry license and really learn to be a true. I belong to the Cosmetic Chemistry Society. I double down on that. I would re-engage in my flying lessons that I was taking right before 2008. I'd gotten my very basic, you can go out and fly around circles around it. And so I would spend some good quality time in the air. And I would try to do that finding an electric airplane, because now I'm really worried about the carbon footprint of the gas-powered airplane.
Yeah.
But that would be probably what I would do. I'd probably, that's it.
Yeah. And last question. If you had one wish for our industry, what would it be?
I wrote something down, and it's something along the lines of that and I think I kind of already said it. This is such a gold mine of an opportunity for personal expression, financial growth, contacting people, the people we meet that come in, that can come into our world. And even if you're in a small town, you still have those people that are really special. They're all special.
Yeah.
So I would say let's get outside of our own heads and really look at the customer, the guest, and understand at a deep level what their needs are, what their pain points are, and understand that if they seem like they don't want us as much as we'd like them to want us, it's because we haven't shown them something. Like Steve Jobs said, I'm not going to ask anybody's opinion. They don't know what they want. I'm going to show them what they want. And he created the iPhone. So I think that's a similar situation for us. We're in a great position right now to really do some great things.
Love it. And so I just want to do one last thing here, and that's, is anybody, if you saw when he pulled the book up, if you got the book handy you can pull that up. Yeah. They're the beautiful business. So it's available. You can still get that on Amazon. And you said you're going to be working on a new edition of it, right?
I've actually rewritten the outline for the first 10 chapters with my former co-writer, which is my wife, Holly. So I would probably will, because this is all pre-digital. This book is 30 years old. At least 30 years.
But it was a bestseller as well.
Yeah, we sold 120,000 copies. I think a New York Times bestseller is 50,000.
Wow.
So for those of you who are really curious about it, it's very simple. It's not about computers. It's all about the structure of a salon and
how to get a sale.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sam, I'm not happy that we haven't had a chance to be eye to eye in a number of years. We have to do it more often. But I can't thank you enough for, the intelligence that you've brought to the program, that you put into the industry, and just how honest and open you are and willing to share. So I just can't thank you enough for giving up your time for our peeps that are listening and watching. So thank you so much.
Thanks for asking me, Chris. It's just been an honor, and I'm really enjoying listening my way through all the head cases.
Boy, thank you so much.
A bunch of head cases, huh?
Yeah, well, that's why if you're on this program or listening to this program, you're a head case. So,
all right.
In the meantime, Sam, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Cheers.